I'm Malcolm Nance. This is the Black Man Spy Warcast. Today is the Moolah cast because there's a lot of moolah flying around out there in the Middle East. And the reason we started a little late was I started a little late and I was trying to communicate with Wajeeh. And who is Wajeeh, the gay lion, coming to us from Minneapolis, Minnesota? We don't have Jacob Carsbo today, but somebody says I'm in focus for a change. Yes, I'm in focus. You can see my wrinkly adventure Land Rover shirt because I am connected directly to Ethernet. Okay. There is no Wi-Fi involved here. This is coming in straight from the fiber optic in HD, 4K, 60 megapixels. What is it? 750 megapixels for megabytes per second is being transferred. So I can do OnlyFans. I just got to get that camera, right? The HD camera. That's what people said. That was the joke yesterday. You could do OnlyFans. I need that HD camera and I need that like studio lighting that everybody has. So listen, another thing is I am in upstate New York. Today is a red flag day. It is going to be 101 degrees. I am glad I am not in New York City, where it might get hotter because of the heat sink issue that's going on there. I am running air conditioning and fan all at the same time. I have a big house that I've been renovating for years. And, it's an old Georgian / Edwardian / Victorian house. You got to retrofit air conditioning, and air conditioning is retrofitted above us and it comes down onto the rest of us. So bear with my sweating. As I said, look, I have a this isn't a
Oh, I
fan.
thought you might have gotten a new book. Well, or
I
no, I
do have a
mean,
Mont, I do have a new Mont Blanc pen. Would you like this? You're such a collector. I don't. This bag came with it. I'm like, whatever. So we'll pretend like we're
I
in
thought
South
that was
Carolina
the
church for
box.
Sunday. No,
Yeah.
that's just the pen. The box is over there. It's a very nice pen. So yes, I will drink lots of water. Thank you very much. And in fact, I just went out for an hour run, which people who met me out on the run couldn't believe I was out running, but very shady where we are, even though at that time it was 75 degrees at 6 in the morning. So here we are at 9 in the morning. We are already pushing the mid 80s. We'll hit 100 degrees by noon today. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to lay down. Somebody says Substack did not send the email to 609. That's true because we sent one out yesterday. We're now sending the invitations out the day before. Wow. If you give me a second, I will grab my notebook of all the activity that's been going on because, believe it or not, for a boatload of inactivity, there's been a lot of activity that's been happening. But first, Wajeeh, what coffee mug are you rocking today? I have to roll
I'm
around now because I'm
rocking
not in my room.
UFM.
That's right. You're an alumni now. Soon you'll be
Not alumni,
adjunct
a student.
faculty. You're a student, but soon you'll be adjunct faculty, then tenured professor, I'm sure. I am running my King Charles coronation mug today that I got a few
Cool.
years ago, during the whole King Charles brew hop. The problem is that I use Toroni sugar-free French, uh, French syrup in it, and it
Ooh.
sucks. Really sucks. So on the other hand, I have a straight double espresso running right here. So in my black coffee, so I've got 2 cups of coffee and a bottle of ice water here because it's just one of those days. Because I gotta have my energy, but uh, I also have to have my water. So I'm hydrating and dehydrating all at the exact same time. Somebody says Cartier pens. Who has that kind of money? Nobody. Nobody should be paying for 18-karat Cartier pens. Okay. If you are not signing the Treaty of Ghent or the Treaty of Toronto or the Treaty, that's Taranto for those of you who know history, or the Treaty of Versailles or Paris, you should not be having those pens. All right.
Oh,
Somebody says Toronto belongs in soda. Very true. Okay, well, that is what's happening today. It is an icy cool day. Even though it's funny because literally surrounded by books about being in the desert, right? I'm looking at this one, Dunkirk Dunes to Libyan Sands, the physics of blown sand, the physics of blown sand and desert dunes. This is by Rafe A. Bagnall, the famous head of the Long Range Desert Group. You know, Libyan sands to Chad. And it's like, no wonder I'm hot. My environment is hot. Now, what you don't know is behind that curtain watch, I'm building out a library that I've been trying to get built for 10 years, right? But now we're at the point where we, for anything else to happen in the house, the library has to be built. And I do a lot of this myself, believe it or not. I do a lot of woodworking and a lot of the construction of this house. I hand stripped all the wood in this house, and it was 8 layers of horrible chipped Chinese paint. We had literally piles of chipped paint up to our knees in this house. So all of these things, I like to do my own craft work and things like that. But the library, we got to build 13 bookcases exterior outside of the house and then winch them upstairs we have a jury rigged winch over here in our main hallway. And then we got to put them on footers, right? And then you got to bolt them to the wall. You got to bolt them together. And, it's just bookcases until you put on the crown molding and stuff. And then it's all pretty. But I can't do anything else until the library's done, right? So I spend an enormous amount of time planning for this freaking library because I've got books out the yang. And but what I was going to tell you is the library is a diwan. It is all I've got nothing but Saudi, Syrian. I have carpets and pillows and cushions from everywhere. I have an entire Syrian living room, right? Like the Saudis like. Uh,
Mm-mm.
I've got I've got Syrian furniture from Damascus, and that I got doing something somewhere. But I've got cushions from every country in the Muslim world. I have these Libyan cushions, Egyptian cushions, Tunisian cushions, Moroccan cushions. I've got all these crazy stuff. And, it's going to look like Alibaba's cave when I'm done with that place. It's going to look, I told you that story about me going to the Saudi general in the
Uh-huh.
Desert Storm, right?
I
It's
remember.
going to look like his armored command
Ah,
post,
ah,
right?
ah.
Only thing I'm going to miss it, I need to hire like a Sudanese kid to sit there and make coffee all day, right? Barefoot. That's all that I miss. I'm going to have it's going to have lustrous curtains. You'll
You
think
should
that you,
you should you should hire a Moroccan tile maker to come over and do the
wait,
tiles.
ho.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
I have a crazy story about me leaving my base in Spain with my Ford Explorer, driving to Marrakesh to hunt the perfect tiles for my house. And I have 8 cases of these tiles that have been sitting in this house for 20 years, waiting to go up. So here's the funny story. I find these beautiful tiles in this tile store in Marrakesh, and I go, these are incredible. I need these. And the guy, now I'm living in southern Spain, right? And he goes, they're from Sevilla, Spain. I'm like, what? That's like 30 miles up the road. I went to Morocco to be told that the tiles I wanted were right up the road from me in Spain, but I didn't buy those. I bought Moroccan tiles. Yeah. I don't worry. I got Moroccan tiles in hand. That being said, now that you have all learned something about my life and my house, let's talk about the rest of the world. There's a lot ish going on that we want to talk about. And we're going to start with Doha, Qatar. As you
Mm.
know, the Strait of Hormuz is still having limited shipping traffic, nowhere near what anyone needs to have done. Nowhere near that. Um, Wait, somebody says, Malcolm, I have 5 barrister bookcases full of books in my living room. They still don't hold all my books. Let me tell you something. That's 4 shelves, 36 inches long. That's 36 books with 4 times 36 times 5. That's a lot of books. That's how you calculate how many bookshelves you need, by the way. Trust me, I'm an expert in it now. But Waja, do we have anything? Is oil prices going up or down? Not the SOH looks.
Let me pull it out because it's already pulled out. The WTI is at 67. It's the same.
Jeez
It's also
Louise. 67. So oil has gone back to near its pre-war prices. And I swear to God, everything I see about this is that it's artificially deflated. That it's artificially deflated, and that when tank bottom comes, there's a prediction from one group that says tank bottom will come from between July 10th and October 5th. July 10th, if they use a 250,000 barrel reserve only for the Department of Defense, then the United States has only that much oil left in the tank. If plus a 10% cushion. If they release all the oil that the Department of Defense has and what they're getting in now, October 5th, right? And they say there's no way out of it. Mr. Global says the real price of oil related to gas should be $85 per barrel, not $65 per barrel. You're right. So these things are out there. We are having a artificially deflated market. A lot of oil is being put out from strategic petroleum reserves. But once that's gone, it's gone forever. All right. Thank you, Waja.
yep, you got it.
Let's talk about two significant items. First off, Doha Light actually did occur. The Iranians did actually have an unofficial meeting with the Americans in Doha. That Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, the two bag men, money men for Donald Trump. And it came down to an agreement that they would agree that at some point there would be an agreement. And right now, Axios, which is another way of saying Donald Trump called me and told me what to say to you. Axios came out and said that the general agreement in Doha is that they want to keep things quiet for a few weeks. Now, in all of my experience working in the Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa, North Africa, South Asia, I have never heard anyone use that kind of terminology. Let's keep things quiet for a few weeks, right? That is the words of Donald Trump himself. And every time I get a report from Axios, if it's an analysis by Axios, they're pretty good. Barack Ravid is pretty good. He delves into what people are saying to him. But when you get quotes like, they want to keep things quiet, that is not how it's done in the giant camel soup that is the Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa, North Africa. It's just not done that way. The Near East doesn't work like that. And that statement is a Trump-style statement to put a lie up first and then force your opponent to break the image of that lie. And it's just becoming so patently obvious that every time I hear Axios says, I know, is that means someone has said, hey, we, the Americans, want to keep things quiet for a few weeks because we're going towards tank bottom. And we need every ship that has oil to get out of there. What do you think, Roger?
I said this yesterday. I said that after even I named my Q&A is Trump needs a break, a gas break, and exactly that. The United States hit tank bottom. They cannot keep this war going if they don't have some sort of refill. The stupid thing that we have done is that we have expedited uh, the emptying of our tanks reserves by selling whatever we have been producing to the rest of the globe, in hopes that that would off put the pressure that we have had because of this war on our economy.
Mhm.
The reality is that that sales of these oils does not off-put the stagflation that our economy is facing.
Mm,
It's not it and it when you are a decision maker and you know you have resources that are limited,
mhm.
in, that are oil, for example.
Right.
Oil is a national security item. I have to be very wise when I decide to use it. So when I'm sitting there and I'm looking at how much influence that oil will do if I sell it versus how much will that serve me if I keep it. And
Mhm,
if I did the math and I realized, well, the influence wouldn't do as much for my economy, then I would hold it. So I could use it for my military, or I could use it for my national security or whatever.
mhm,
Now we're at a spot that our we have hit rock bottom. We have not been filling up our tanks. The military would not be able to function without it. Our jets wouldn't be able to function without it. Our tanks wouldn't be able to function without it. The batteries wouldn't be able to function without it. Almost everything in our military that is not powered by nuclear power or solar power is not going to work.
And in fact, the Department of Defense over the last 4 years made this massive effort to shift to electric, to shift to solar, to shift to wind, to shift bases. All the bases were going to decrease their dependence on fossil fuels. And Pete Hegseth killed it on day one. Day one, right? By the way, somebody a little earlier says that CNBC is reporting that Iranians have tankers at sea with no buyers. I don't believe that for 1 second. People now understand they have to get every oil tanker, every oil bunker, every storage silo filled because this could happen again. The United States could attack again. And in a week, all oil could be empty. So I suspect that every barrel of oil on this planet is being bought. There's no such thing as not no buyers for it. China will buy it at 67 a barrel. Yeah, they'll buy it and they'll fill their strategic petroleum reserve up to 3 billion barrels. You know, but our problem is that we don't have any common sense with regards to this. So anyway, so that's what's
Why does
going on
that
in
sound like a comment that Sarah Huckabee would say?
yes, well, Sarah Huckabee, she's an idiot. Or Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Israel. Um, Next up, Khamenei funeral, which I understand that the funeral activities begin today. Is today Thursday? It is Thursday. Yes, funeral activities begin today and will go for the next 3 days. The question on the table is, will Mujtaba al-Khamenei come out in a public event that is fixed in place and fixed in time, which means the Israelis will have an opportunity to kill everyone in the senior leadership all over again. What do you say, Yuckaboo?
Of course, they would definitely pull out a double if possible. That's just the oldest trick in the Middle East. You pull out a double, and especially with plastic surgery now, having a double is easier than ever. And the
Yeah,
plastic.
Putin does it. I've seen two different additional Putins. One guy was so new to the job, he actually started saluting an officer. Have you ever seen Putin do anything other than walk in a room and demand respect? I was like, that's a dead man. But Putin uses body doubles all the time. Saddam had 6 body doubles. This would
Mhm.
be an easy one. But I personally think, do you think he's going to come out in the open himself, wounded, right? Combat wounded, walking. If he lost a leg, I got to tell you, between you, me, Wajeeh, if he lost a leg or was really seriously injured, lost an eye or something, I think that would make him seem much stronger to the Iranian people.
Well, I can tell you what the Iranians have done. The Iranians have filed a complaint at the UN saying that Israel has threatened their supreme leader, and that is constituting a hate crime or whatever they are calling it. But the Iranians are prepared. They are aware. They're not idiots. They are trying to assess the actual risk and having their officials continue the funeral processions in Iraq. You have to understand Iraq and Karbala is one of the holiest sites in Shia belief. So going to Karbala, where the Hussein is, the grandson of the Prophet, the son of
Mhm.
Ali, uh,
Been there.
where where people go there to get blessed, where people go there to pray, where people go there to have their own pilgrimage toward there. So this is not your regular site. This is similar to when Sunnis go to Medina and meet the Prophet. Not the
Right.
same, similar, because that's not these are not the Prophet. These are the Prophet grandkids.
Yeah.
Now,
I've been, by the way, to both Karbala and Najaf, Shrine of Hussein, Shrine of Ali. I've been in them,
wow,
prayed in them. Right. When I'm there, I'm local. I'm a praying. All right. I've been to the cemeteries of Najaf and Kufa, where the famous Kufa Cola was made. And so I've been
Coca-Cola.
around that. I've been around that part of Iraq. I spent a lot of time around that part of Iraq. But will Mujtaba come out? Yes or no? What's your guess? Let's take a vote.
No, no.
No. I agree. I don't think Mujtaba will come out, but I think he will do a live stream from some place that will be routed to 500 different places. It'll be a pre-recorded live stream that he will come out and it'll look like he's giving the prayers and the blessings and the blah blah blah. And then,
I,
uh, but I do think if the Israelis think they have a shot, they will hit. They will attack without any question.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ben Gavir, Netanyahu are facing an election. The far right are very pissed off with not being more far right. They're upset
Mhm.
that Netanyahu has not delivered a decisive win, according to Netanyahu. So
Well,
you're looking at a different spectrum when you're looking at the different views from the U.S. to Israel. So, of course, when Israel has a chance to take out the next supreme leader of Iran, they will do so.
yeah. I mean, it's just doctrine. They have to. They can't leave these guys alive, right? Rise up and strike. So why would they? Uh, that being said, let's take a look back in the Strait of Hormuz. We said that the Strait of Hormuz traffic has not increased. And in the meantime, the U.S. Navy has lost a second helicopter, two helicopters in 2 weeks. I didn't even hear about the first one. A MH-60 Seahawk went down off the USS George W. Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, in the Indian Ocean. All four crewmen were on board. One is missing, most likely presumed dead. They won't confirm that that person is dead until they get divers in the water. We have the capability to find helicopters on the bottom of the ocean. We're that good, and we won't waste any time trying to get down there and recover the remains of that. But I mentioned this to you guys before. People die in wars without any shooting happening altogether. And if this person is missing, presumed dead, he goes on the roster. That brings the count to 16 that were killed during the war, because technically the war is still on, although Donald Trump would like to proclaim that it isn't. Okay. Um, do you have anything else about the Gulf? Because now, oh yeah, there's one other thing about the Gulf. Then we'll go on to Lebanon and Israel. The Admiral Cooper, who was in Lebanon and Israel for talks the other day, has convened a conference in Bahrain. I don't know where he carried it out in Bahrain because U.S. Navy Forces Central Command has been
Who?
obliterated. Admiral Cooper, commander of U.S. Forces Central Command, commander of Central Command, convened a regional security conference dialogue in Bahrain, led by the Bahrainis, which had representatives from all the Gulf states: Oman, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. In addition, they had Lebanon and Syria came to this conference. And what I see is the beginning of a new initiative in the region to create a new defense alliance backed by the United States. Because the United States, let's be honest, really, really screwed this war up. Really screwed this war up. And several countries are talking about, limiting or cutting their ties with the United States by using a figure like Admiral Cooper's Central Command, getting the generals and the defense chiefs together. He is trying to recenter the United States as a principal ally for not just the Gulf states, but the Lebanese army and the gangster bandit army of Syria, because that's technically what they are, right? A bunch of guys in Toyota pickups
Militia.
marauding around. They're really a militia group, but they sent representatives because Admiral Cooper is also orienting this as a giant anti-Iran Arab coalition. Interesting, isn't it? One second. Yes, sir. Go ahead, comment while I get my plug.
Well, you have to understand the United States became from one of, for these Gulf states and Arab states, the United States was their only protector ally, meaning if they got into war with an adversary, they looked to the United States for protection. Since this war has started, these countries have looked to the United States for protection, and Trump did not give them that protection. They immediately looked elsewhere. Ukraine, China, Russia, NATO, countries in NATO, Turkey, Italy, France, the UK. They went all of to these countries and they asked them, give us your weapons, give us your contracts, give us your soldiers. We're willing to pay the prices. We're no longer going to be focused on a one government to protect us. The United States found itself at a particular situation where now its bases have been destroyed. It,
Right.
if the United States wants to rebuild these bases, they're going to have to spend several $billion or more. And essentially, these countries have told the United States, well, it's better if you don't come back now because if you come back
Hmm.
now, we'll be more of a target. So the United
Right.
States is literally actively being sidelined, and Trump is realizing the situation and is trying to cover it up. That's what I'm seeing.
Hmm. Well, you're absolutely right about that. However, I also see something very fascinating about this collective defense organization. Now, it's not a collective defense organization. What it was a conference to talk about and renew and reiterate and repromise our relationships with them. I personally don't think that it's going to last long. It cannot stand because what you have now, when you bring the Syrians in, that what's our homeboy's name? Jumanji or whatever his freaking name is. Oh God, I'm having a really short time. This the president of Syria. Um, he is one suicide bombing away from not having relations with the United States, right? Jolani. All he
Uh-huh.
has to do is to have one ISIS member get through to Damascus and blast his ass. And all of these relationships that we see with Syria are gone. His visits to Washington is wearing Armani suits, finished, right? But what I found fascinating about that list of nations, they included Lebanon, they included Syria. They did not include Turkey, a NATO member, into that alliance. And I don't recall the last time Turkey was never invited to a conference like this of the Islamic states. What do you think? Do you think that's a little suspicious? Watch out, Tismani. Out Tismani. I think Waj is having his technical
No,
difficulties.
I just got a phone call. I
Oh, you got a
apologize.
phone
Yes,
call. ما تسمعني؟
could you repeat the question? What was
حبيبي.
the say?
هل تسمعني؟ تسمعني؟
أسمعك
أوه.
أسمعك جيدا أسمعك جيدا.
لا.
نعم نعم حول حول حول
فوق
حول.
فوق خمسة على خمسة خمسة على خمسة حبيبي. Okay, by the way, salty Arab radio talk. Um, that's how they communicate on there. 400 times they will ask, "Do you hear me?" Hal tismani. And
Oh my
400 times,
God.
the other guy will come back and respond, "Yes, yes, how 300 times." And they'll do that for about 30 minutes. And then they'll say, "How are you, Habibi?" It's really funny.
Yeah, you gotta hear that. You gotta hear this funny story. So when I was at K State, Manhattan, Kansas is a very small town. I was running the culture and media coordination for the Saudi club, so I decided to do this fundraiser marathon, and basically got permission from the college police to use their radio,
Oh,
and
no.
it was a whole bunch of Saudis.
Oh, no. No, no, that's not smart.
حول واحد اثنين واحد اثنين.
No, no, that's not smart. Okay, I
But
should
that
believe
was
you
only
then.
for a few hours. But then the radio got back to them, and
You can
everything
see
was
the
back to normal.
amateur ham guys be out there. We've got a terrorist cell communications. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
That was not smart. Okay, well, as we talked about Turkey not being included as part of this network, I find that a little surprising. I think the United States at the defense level, below Pete Hegseth, below General Kane, is talking about getting weapons equipment out there. But by bringing the Lebanese and the Syrians in, that is doomed to failure. Because what it does is it's almost an anti-Iran coalition, defense coalition that they're trying to initiate here. It's not going to be, what I call GITO, right? Gulf Islamic Treaty Organization. There's not going to be a Saudi-based, NATO. But I think this is their attempt at the Defense Department level, which is actually smart, to say, let's get all these guys together and let's just sort of keep reminding them that we're here to support them. Because the next thing that I have on the War Daddy list is something I predicted a week ago. Actually, I predicted it some time ago, but a week ago, we saw this firming up with the U.S. Lebanon peace treaty, U.S.
Oh yeah.
Lebanon Israel peace treaty. And the latest news is now, I said when they signed that treaty, the Lebanese armed forces were supposed to go into areas that were formerly Hezbollah held villages. We read those villages out the other day, one near Nabatea, two further south. On the eastern, the eastern Israeli Lebanese border. And that the Israelis were going to pull out of two small places, right? The Israelis today reiterated that they will continue to occupy all security zones until further notice. They have no intention of leaving any of their security zones. Read that as 25 kilometers of terrain. That chart we showed from Benjamin Netanyahu the other day. And I said, well, how is Lebanon supposed to secure what they reiterated yesterday in the White House, that the Lebanese armed forces will disarm Hezbollah? Well, Hezbollah is 40,000 hardcore combatants with loads of weapons. And if they got to get down to beating your ass with rocks, they'll do it. Okay? They will do it. So, how is the Lebanese armed forces supposed to do this? And I projected, the way that they tried to do it in 1983, when I got there, they sent over a U.S. defense mission that would be with the Lebanese. They would train them up, give them weapons and equipment, and send them out into the mountains and go fight. And they would lose, because that's what happened. Fast forward to yesterday. The United States announces it is sending U.S. forces to Lebanon. And I said the forces will be the SFABs, the Security Forces Assistance Brigades. This was an organization we built up during the Afghan war to rapidly send hundreds of troops to these places to not train 5 guys like the special forces does, right? Or 10 guys, but to train hundreds of people. These are train the trainer trainers who will get out there, but who can also act as soldiers. Well, the United States is announcing U.S. forces will be deployed. Ready for this? To southern Lebanon to sit side by side with the Lebanese army, taking the positions of UNIFIL, United Nations Forces in Lebanon, which has officially ended its 50-year mandate. I think UNIFIL's been around since the Civil War, right? The end of the Civil War, which was the beginning of the Civil War, 1976, something along that line. Look that up when UNIFIL came in. But their job was to keep the Palestinian diaspora from going into Israel and carrying out terrorist acts. They're gone. The Israelis wanted them gone. They're gone, right? The United States is now saying our newest forever war will be operating alongside the United Lebanese army and the Israeli army. We will be co-locating U.S. forces with Lebanese army and Israeli forces. It's technically the 1983 to 2000 insurgency that Hezbollah did that kicked Israel's ass, only with extra added U.S. soldiers. Welcome to the next new war. Black Man Spies podcast is never going to get a break if this happens. Never. Because every day we're going to talk about U.S. soldiers killed in rocket attacks, U.S. soldiers killed by suicide bombers. We're going to have videos of U.S. soldiers going, what? That look on their face just before the drone hits them. This is a disaster. Yeah,
This is my message
Avix
to
clicks.
the.
And I just want to reemphasize, stationed with the Lebanese army, stationed with the IDF, the Israeli army. Yes, the next Afghanistan. Very good, Lynette LeBlanc. You got it.
This is. I thought
UNIFIL
Trump
began in
didn't want more.
78. Thank you.
I thought Trump didn't want more than the 13 soldiers that have died in action. To I thought he didn't want to accumulate any more
Oh, remember, that war's
soldiers
over.
killed in action.
That war's over. This is a new body count, right? And it's not a war. Wajeeh. Okay, when I was 20 years old and I landed in Beirut, Lebanon for my first day at work, which would in 4 hours end in the destruction of the American embassy, the killing of 69 people by a suicide bomber. Day one in the U.S. intelligence community. We were there as part of, what's the name? Come on, you can say it. I have a plate here. The Multinational Peacekeeping Force, Beirut. And that's what this is going to be called, because no one
With the
ever
blue
fucking
hat.
learns anything. No. That's United Nations. The U.S. doesn't like working on the UN. So they're gone. United Nations ended. Somebody a little earlier said they started in 1978. 78 to 26. What is that? 18, 40, 38 years. UNIFIL, United Nations Forces in Lebanon, was in southern Lebanon. And they took casualties this year. They took 2 dead this year. UNIFIL is gone. There's nobody there now. Now the United States is going to go and join forces with the Lebanese army. I'm not done with this story, so everybody stop drinking coffee. I don't want you to spit it out here in a minute. Lebanese army, we will be co-located with the Lebanese army, and we will also be co-located with the Israeli army to act as one force. What do you think the purpose of this peacekeeping force mission is?
Disarm Hezbollah.
To disarm Hezbollah. Oh, shit. Oh, suck it now. Someone explain to me how we couldn't do this shit in Afghanistan. We're supposed to do it in a place with more hills. Let me tell you something about Afghanistan. I went to Afghanistan very early in the war. All right. I spent all of my time in eastern Afghanistan in Jalalabad province. That's Nangarhar, right? I didn't go up into the north, up into Asadabad, where all these places, which was heavy trees. That's what northern Lebanon looks like. Southern Lebanon is high green shrubs and trees in extremely steep valleys with roads that have existed since before Jesus Christ, when, Babylonian age road. These roads, we talked about this, right? The Phoenicians, that's who were occupying Tyre. What year were the Phoenicians carrying out activities? I'm sure somebody will look that up for me in a moment. These roads have been operating since then. The Romans redeveloped the roads. These are invasion and trade routes. When you go from one village in Lebanon to the next village in Lebanon, it's necessary. And yes, there are donkey tracks. Yes, there are, goat tracks. Yes, but most of these roads are fixed. I have maps from my time in Lebanon, 1 to 50,000 artillery maps. There's no change. The roads don't change. I could get a British Army map from 1918, right? Or I could get Paddy Mayne's map from, the second founder of the SAS when he was fighting with the 1st Commando in southern Lebanon, and it would be the same. So all we would be introducing is more targets. We wouldn't have any going up a road into a village. You're going to hit an IED. You're going to have a drone. So it hasn't been
You know,
formally
the
announced, but we did state to the Lebanese and the Israelis, U.S. forces would be joining them. This is what we call a catastrophe. And I should have gone on to Poly Market yesterday and bet. I'd be
you
rich,
know,
rich right now.
I think that the U.S. soldiers, if we sent them, I'd be praying for them, first of all. And second of all, they would be sitting ducks. All of these soldiers are going to be sitting ducks. And if you would have wanted to do something, training the Lebanese army is not going to do shit. Giving them a couple $100 million isn't going to do shit. Your soldiers going to Lebanon isn't going to do anything. If any idea would be ideal, it would be to do precision tactical attacks to dismantle certain factions of Hezbollah at certain locations in the middle of the night at some time.
Wajeeh.
That's it.
The
That's it. But you
Israelis
can't
have
throw
been
all of the
doing it
soldiers.
since, Wajeeh, the Israelis have been doing that since 1967. Okay, they've been doing precision strikes on Lebanon. There hasn't been a day. I shit you not. If I go to Beirut today, all the same Israeli tactical and intelligence activity that was going on when I arrived there on April 18th, 1983, is still going on. If Israel can't do it, what would the introduction of our stupid asses be doing?
You misunderstood me. What I
Okay,
was
fine.
saying is don't put troops in the ground. And then if something comes up, then putting troops on the ground wouldn't be a good idea unless you're doing a precise attack. But don't put
Thank you,
troops on
Michael.
the ground. Like,
Yeah.
just putting troops on the ground is what will put our people in danger as sitting
Oh, but
ducks.
Waja, it's not troops on the ground, it's peacekeepers on the soil. I don't know. Hey, Michael Kirshner came up with this and said Phoenicians have been around from around 2750 BCE until it was captured by Alexander the Great in 332 BCE. Them roads are fixed. Those villages are fixed. Even when they were destroyed, everyone rebuilt them because they were always built. Every village in Lebanon is located at the top of a hill, right?
Hmm.
For their own protection, also for collecting rainwater. Wallahi, Alexander the Great could go there today, and the only thing he'd be fascinated with is the gas
And
stations.
what can you do? I mean, like, you're not only fighting Hezbollah, you're fighting militias. There are other militias in southern Lebanon that has nothing to do with Hezbollah, like drug dealers who have been doing it for centuries. not centuries,
Mhm.
for 50, 100 years. But like what you need to know is like the big weed dealers that send the hash into Europe, Lebanon. The dealers that are making
Captagon.
Captagon, they're
Captagon.
making yeah, Captagon and other pills that you take into Europe. Now it's Lebanon. So what do you think these guys? These guys have everything from anti-tanks to anti plane
So they
to
have anti-ship missiles.
yeah, they have anti-ships and these are not
I am going
Hezbollah.
to I am going to be watching U.S. Marine deployments very carefully. I think this idea didn't come from the Marines, by the way. I think this, because you recall, I was there with the Marines in Beirut in 1983. This idea came from the fact that we got 3,000 paratroopers sitting in Jordan that have been doing nothing for almost 4 months. And somebody's like, let's send the airborne over. Okay, Department of Stupid Fucking Ideas is fully open. All right. So just hold on to those thoughts. That's what's happening. Okay, next. Uh Oh, yeah, we already went over all of that. Hezbollah, this is all about the US is saying they will participate in the disarmament of Hezbollah. Here comes a lesson. They think they cut off the money. 40 years of shipping weapons up there. 40 years. And anybody who wants to make a dollar is going to make a dollar shipping weapons in from Iraq to Syria. Next, final one that we have before we go to questions. An American citizen, 20-year-old American citizen who has been living in Israel has been arrested for spying for Iran. Yeah, right. But don't worry, he has plenty of company because over a dozen Israelis have been arrested before for spying for Iran for money. And most of these were communicated and connected to overseas, people overseas. But they do have assets and resources in the country. And this American was supposed to go around and give them information about bases. But somebody says, Malcolm, all of us of a certain age remember all the activity of the 70s and 80s. That is your lived experience. It's frustrating when you talk to all these youngsters, not you, Wajeeh, who are know nothings. And that's right. And this White House is full of know nothings also. All right, Waj, that's enough reporting for one day. It's enough to make you drive yourself mad. We have 5 minutes. Um, I got to get out of I got to cool down. Um, Let me go to questions.
That's fine. Let's do it.
And I put up the question part. Hey guys, by the way, I know you guys love this show. To show everyone you love it, you have to press those little hearts down in the lower right hand corner. Give us a plus. We have gone back up from number 11 back to number 10. Substack in world politics, which is funny when you consider guys like Glenn Greenwald are number 5. Guys are conspiracy theorists. Okay, let's go to the questions. This is Warcast, MOOLAH Cast, day 127. Let me find that. Oh, this is yesterday. Everybody is making comments on yesterday's. Let me see. Wajid, do you have any comments before we go to questions while I try to find the questions? I'm trying to find my
Okay.
chat.
Oh my
Do you have any
God. Who's
comments?
calling?
He's getting people are calling you. Yeah, it's probably the FBI at this point. You talked about Lebanon, so they've automatically assumed that you're a member of Hezbollah.
Like
It's
5 times. They're calling 5 times in a row. Like Jesus. I'll call you back once I'm done.
don't you put on Do Not Disturb?
I put on
Oh,
the
there
do
it
not
is.
disturb. It still disturbs.
Well, while I'm looking up today's chat, don't forget that if you go back up under the chat threads, you can find our donations for carsforukraine.com for the Summer Sunshine campaign. That's where you go. Somebody had asked earlier, that's where you go to get your patches for the Black Man Spy podcast. We are supporting International Legion Team Jedi, which has two of the I think it is the two longest serving Ukrainians, Ukrainian international legionnaires. One is a citizen from Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic, and another is a Brit whose call sign is Solo. The other guy is Santa. They are getting this logistics vehicle based on your donations in the Summer Sunshine Campaign. And you get Black Man Spy patches. I cannot even get those patches. I had to donate 200 euros to get two patches because they're mailed from Ukraine to your house. Once you put your address in, they will mail them to you. So, Wajeeh, can you see the questions on the chat? I am having difficulty seeing my own chat. I have day 18, there it is. I found it. Day 127. Michael Noble says, I heard the Pakistanis are in Saudi. Aren't the Pakistanis more aligned with Iran? I think the Pakistanis help Iran develop the nuclear program. No. Pakistan's relationship with Saudi Arabia is supporting them militarily and defending them as guardians of the two holy shrines in Mecca and Medina. That's what it's about. It's about a
There has
religious.
been talks when Bandar bin Sultan was the ambassador to the United States. The Saudi government tried to convince George Bush to allow the kingdom to purchase nuclear weapons from the U.S., and they didn't have much success. So there was talks that Saudi Arabia reached out to Pakistan asking to see if they could get their hands on it, but we never had an actual confirmation from the kingdom. Nothing is confirmed.
Saudi doesn't have a nuke, but don't forget the reason this guy mentions Iran in the nuclear program. A.Q. Khan, who was a religious extremist who believed that nuclear bombs in the Muslim world would be a great equalizer, who worked with Al Qaeda early on and Iran to develop their nuclear weapons program. He was the father of the Pakistani nuclear weapons program. Somebody asked what's happening with Jared's Abraham Accords. Nothing. I think's dead. I think the Abraham Accords are going to crash and burn. No one wants to be aligned with Israel anymore. This is from Erased Replaced. What can people do when you don't know who to believe about anything? Even people who want to be truthful are being elaborately fooled. This is the dawn of the cyber age of disinformation. You might have heard me talk about my library. Full disclosure, true. This is a fact. When I was in the military, my father, who joined the Navy, lied to get in the Navy in World War II, was 15. He was 15 when he joined the Navy. I have a photograph of him at age 15. He's a big, tall, black guy, very muscular. They were like, we believe you, whatever, get in there. He was on a troop transport, the E.T. Collins, taking troops from San Francisco to the invasion preparation points for the invasion first of Saipan, then the invasion of Iwo Jima, and then the invasion of Japan. He did 3 trips with I think he had 4,000 troops on his ship. He warned me about 2 things. One, horny guys. Don't worry. Don't forget that was an era when rapists and murderers were being recruited into the army, drafted into the army, right? And he warned about being raped and murdered on ships, right? So the second thing that he taught me was to read. And he said on these troop ships, all it was floating libraries. Everyone, because you have 3 weeks at sea. And the last week you were in your ship can be torpedoed by Japan zone. Right. And, and these guys became voracious readers, and he learned to read books. And one of the things he did was he kept all the books that were good. Right. And he taught me this truism: never throw away books. Someone earlier in the podcast was in the live chat said, books can't be erased, right? They can be destroyed, but they can't be erased. So this, for example, is one of my favorite books. All Blood Runs Red, the story of Eugene Bullard a black kid that ran away from the United States in the late 1890s, went to Paris, became a boxer. Then in World War I, joined the French Foreign Legion. Like me, he became a legionnaire. Fought, was wounded 3 times, then became the first black pilot in the U.S. Air Force, right? And then became a spy, right? Was hanging out with Ella Fitzgerald, Josephine Baker, and got this young guy named Louis Armstrong started in Paris. I mean, this guy was awesome. Then when the Nazis invaded, he became a spy, right? I'm never getting
Wow.
rid of this book, right? This book is going to be passed down to my kids. I have my father's first paperback version of Starship Troopers, first edition, right? Untorn, undestroyed. That book is now worth $4,000, right? It's not about the value of the book, it's about the value of what's in a book. These I
Mm,
call, this is, I'm reading something right now. These I call not, we had this guy on, right? James Verini, to show his book about the destruction of Mariupol Children's Theater, right? The theater is what he calls it. Heartbreaking book. The stories of all these people who survived the theater massacre there, killed over 1,000 people. These are what I call non-digital information transfer devices. They can't be erased. They can be destroyed, but they can't be erased. And there's invariably another copy of it. So keep books, right? Study books. This is where a book requires you to, you know, I mean, read so slowly that you are forced to consume what's in it, right? This book, by the way, Ralph Bagnall, commander of the Long Range Desert Group in World War II, is a textbook for NASA. And it actually describes the behavior of sand on Mars and how it should behave. And now he has his own place named on Mars after him, right? The Bagnall Field. But it takes a time to get through that book. Somebody says you lost your library to a house fire. Peasants, it's time for you to start collecting that library back, right? Books are cheap now. You can go to a dollar store and get awesome ass books for nothing. So the title of the book is The Physics of Blown Sand and Desert Dunes. Very hard to get. The other book is All Blood Runs Deep. Red. By the way, that was the name of his fighter plane that he was flying. Oh, by the way, and my bookmark is my favorite spy, right? Josephine Baker. Ooh, I'm going to go see Josephine soon. She gives me the guy cries. But this man was a fighter pilot in World War I. And on the side of his plane, he wrote in French, Tout sang coule rouge. All blood runs red, which means my skin color means nothing. Books are the great equalizer. So how do you get to learn things are true or not? You have to read, consume it, and then run it against your bullshit meter, right? Got to run it against your bullshit meter.
you don't have to
Okay.
believe everything you read, but
Don't
you
have to
read to
believe
get
everything.
informed.
When you read it on this device, right? When you read it on a telephone, it's designed to be consumed in a few seconds. By the way, the author of this book, someone just asked, is Phil Keith. It's the biography of Eugene Boulard. So anyway, this is bad. This requires you to consume quickly, right? Uh, I have a very finely tuned bullshit meter. I read it and I cross reference it against everything I've ever done in my life and my career. And then I go bullshit or yay, not bullshit. Right. All right. And support your libraries. We have an awesome library here in upstate New York. Awesome. It was donated by a billionaire and a black billionaire, believe it or not. And it was an old armory that was turned into a public library. And everybody uses it. Everybody uses it. If you need quick internet, you run in there. If you just want to look something up, you run in there. I donated my entire book library there. So that's
I'm
question
really
number.
excited to see your library,
Oh
um,
my God.
especially that you're building it. You remind me of the Syrian houses. I don't know if I told you this, but my dream is to build a house similar to the Syrian houses with a courtyard in the middle and water fountain and a garden.
Mhm.
It's just that would be my.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if there are actually any questions. There are a lot of comments here. Apparently, we're sending troops to Venezuela to assist in earthquake relief. Yeah, but that's usually U.S. government earthquake relief people. That's fine. And we send amphibious transport there to bring materials ashore. That works. I'll go with that. That's what our military should be doing, right? Not planning to invade a whole bunch of people. Can you put out a reading list? Yeah, that's a good idea. We should watch. You and I should come up with a reading list. Um, you know,
Or a reading club.
yeah, we could do a reading club. But I collect books from everywhere. And the first book that I require everybody to read is this from my favorite Arabist, Sir Richard Burton, 1001 Arabian Nights, right? Alfa Layla wa Layla. This book
Lelo
will
Lelo.
teach you everything you will ever need to know about the Middle East, Sub Saharan Africa, North Africa, South Asia, and Asia, because I got Sindbad, right? Sindbad is Arabic, well, Persian really, for Chinese city. Sindbad, the sailor. Sindbad, the sailor, came from China and the
Yep.
court of the king of China, and and sailed these ships that looked like dhows that were like 100 times larger. If you ever go to Dubai, there is a mall there called Ibn Battuta Mall. Ibn Battuta was the famous Islamic explorer. This guy was Marco Polo before Marco Polo, went all over the Muslim and world, went all the way to Peking, came back. Guys, amazing. But the mall is set up in 4 separate courts that are done with all the tiling and styling of all the courts that he went to. And like one of the ones that he went to was the Persian court, right? Or the Chinese court. It's an incredible mall. You write in Ibn Battuta, you type that in, it comes Ibn Battuta book, Ibn Battuta mall. Okay, I'm going to show you a little bit of what Ibn Battuta mall looks like because it is phenomenal. It is just the most amazing place you'll ever see. But they have a semi mock up of Sinbad's actual ship that he sailed on, and it's phenomenal. And they put a modern like dhow next to it, and it's like this big, and his ship is like 3 feet long in comparison to that. But if you guys actually, this is the ceiling of the Persian court in Ibn Battuta Mall. I want to show this to you.
Oh my God, that's almost
There
like
are
a mosque entrance.
there are 4 courts like that in Ibn Battuta Mall. And each court is designed to educate you about Ibn Battuta. This is the Mongol court. And down below it, of course, are ice cream shops, cafes, bars, and stuff like that. But Ibn Battuta Mall is just utterly amazing place. Now, here it is. Here's the mock up. This was Sinbad the Sailor's ship. Let me see if I can get that in full screen. And next to it, if you look down here that's the ship, the giant ship. This is another ship. But if you look down in that corner right there, that's Columbus's ship, that tiny ship down there. That's how big the Chinese battle junks were. I got an education in Institute Mall. And if it wasn't enough, they have computerized history screens everywhere. Go check that
That's
out.
cool.
My point being, everything you ever wanted to learn. I mean, Islam went everywhere from Morocco
Mm-hmm.
to the Philippines, right? From Vienna, the gates of Vienna, all the way down to South Africa, right? Down to Tanzania, Zanzibar. This book, 1001 Arabian Nights, the unexpurgated version by Sir Richard Burton, the Arabist. Next time I go to London, I'm going to do a live from Sir Richard Burton's tomb. It is in the shape of a Bedouin tent. It is amazing. Not the actor Sir Richard Burton, the Arabist who could speak 28 languages. Arabist, spy, explorer, Sir Richard Burton. So I do not have a photographic memory. I'm a moron half the time. But I do remember things that are cool. All right, guys, that's enough for one day. We are going to come back tomorrow. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more interesting stuff going on there. I want you to please follow Wajeeh if you haven't. Just press that button up in the corner if you aren't on the phone, and get other people to follow us. Um, and if you can, please become a paid subscriber. I don't like begging for money, but I will tell you this. An enormous amount of my paid subscriber fees go to donations to the International Legion in Ukraine. Thousands, thousands per month. I don't live off of it. All right. I'm a retiree. These guys, I get asked for a laptop, $2,500. I buy it. I get asked for boots. I buy it. I transition money over. We have drone interceptors right now. I make donations to the same things that you make donations to. This is important to help each other out. And if you feel these podcasts are worthwhile, become a paid subscriber. We are going to be having a lot more paid subscriber stuff. It's just we're in this crisis. I'm traveling. Things are going on that are crazy. It's a nutty world, and I haven't had. Did I have a day off? Wait, when the web went down, I had that day off, and somebody's dad taught Tibbets to fly. Okay, Martin Amoris, his father, taught the
You
guy who
didn't even
flew
have a
the
day
Enola
off
Gay.
your cousin. You
No,
didn't even take a
funeral,
day
and
off
I
when your
came up.
cousin's funeral.
Oh gosh, my cousin's wife. Poor guy, right? Nothing worse in the world than being a widower. And but I go down. I'm going to go down and talk to him. I talk to him every couple of days. Thank you all for coming. Thanks again. If I see this on YouTube, please subscribe to YouTube and ask people to follow. You don't pay for anything on YouTube. Please come to subscribe and become a subscriber. Wajeeh, see you tomorrow, inshallah.
See you tomorrow. I'll take 15
Inshallah.
minutes and then I'll do my Q&A if you're waiting for me.
All right. Take care. Bye bye, guys.
Bye-bye.